Mullinger's Weekly Ramble.
Hello, my friends. It is Wednesday, the 26th of November, 2025, which of course means it is time for episode 74, if you can believe it, of Mullinger's Weekly Ramble. 74! Blimey, O'Reilly! I'm not sure I've actually heard the phrase "Blimey O'Reilly" since I was a kid. My dad used to say it a lot. I guess it's the British equivalent of the Canadian "Jumpin' Jesus, Holy Moses." Merciful Moses. That's the one. What are some other British ones? Gee Whiz is American, and Great Scott. Great Scott, I believe, was an English one, but also has some... Anyway, the point is, hello and welcome to the show. I am reporting to you live from the Fairfield Hotel and Suites here in Kelowna, British Columbia. It is 8 o'clock in the morning. I arrived here very late last night, about 11 o'clock. I was due to be here at 11 o'clock yesterday morning, but Air Canada, anyway, I'm not one so late. We're in the joy phase, aren't we, of the year, of the season, of the podcast. We're celebrating joy and we're looking at the positive of things. Let's see if I can keep this up for the whole episode. As you know, last week the episode was joy themed. I do have some more best days of people's lives to share with you. And I'm being positive. So yesterday I was supposed to be on a flight at like 5 o'clock in the morning. I would have been in Kelowna by 11 a.m. Unfortunately, that flight had problems, delays. But you know what? Air Canada were amazing. They did everything they could to get me back, to get me here yesterday. And it's also, let's face it, it's why I fly the day before the shows begin, for safety, for those reasons. My bag arrived unharmed. They did give me some $15 food vouchers in the air. But see, I'm finding the positive in things. So even though I was supposed to take 2 planes and be here at 11 a.m., I did take 3 planes, had quite a few hours at Toronto Airport and then quite a few hours at Vancouver Airport. But you know what? I'm here now and I'm healthy and I'm happy. Do you like this new positive me? Positivity. It's very good. It's underrated. And we're going to be talking about lots of things about the show. This episode that I hope will be infused with joy and positivity. But before I go any further, what is more joyful than chocolate? And yes, you will be delighted to hear that this episode is sponsored by one of my favourite Canadian companies, Ganong Chocolates. That's right. As Canadians, we're loyal, we're proud, and rightly so. And as you know, Ganong have been crafting chocolates here in Canada since 1873, and they never stop innovating, they never stop coming up with new amazing things while also continuing with the great traditions of the epic and much loved chocolates such as Palamine. More on Palamines later, but I'm here right now to talk about their brand new sea salted caramels and peanut butter caramel clusters. They are truly outstanding. I've been handing them out at hockey arenas for the past couple of weeks and watching people's faces light up, and this week I'm here in BC doing the same. So if you want a treat after one of the shows this week, come and see me. I will be in the lobby. This is Ganong. They're the best chocolates ever, and they are Canadian. Happy days. So come and see me. So I should point out that to purchase Ganong's new sea salted caramels and peanut butter caramel clusters, you can buy them from many stores across the country, but here is a few. Shoppers Drug Mart, Sobeys, Safeway, Foodland, Canadian Tire, Atlantic Superstore, Dominion, and Walmart Atlantic. Okay, so let's go back to our subject of joy. Well, one joyful piece of news. I was in Fredericton last week. I'll quickly go through what I did last week. So last week, after I spoke to you all, I hot-footed it to the YMCA, then came home and recorded a podcast called We Buy Records with my friend Paul Field and his co-host Tim. Is one of the most listened to record buying and collecting podcasts in the world. Very honoured to talk to them about my new album release, which actually comes out next week. That's right. So get your orders in now. I'll be announcing some record store signings and events very soon. And then last week, it was my beloved mother-in-law Wilhelmina's birthday. So we had a family over. It was so nice having my nephews in town. Had a wonderful, wonderful time. And then continued watching a show in bed called The Beast in Me. Have you all seen this? #1 on Netflix. Claire Danes. And Matthew Rhys, very gripping, very good. Hard to believe that the creator of the show has never actually created or show-run or whatever, written a TV show before, because it is given how much crap there is out there, and it's become very, very difficult to filter through the crap, even when you are on a positive, joy-filled life outlook type of mood. Claire Danes obviously is one of the greatest actresses ever. It is interesting that she chose to portray this character exactly the same as Carrie Mathison. Carrie Mathison, is that right? It's not. Yes, Carrie Bradshaw is Sex and the City. Carrie Mathison is Homeland. She literally portrays the exact same. I mean, all of the panting and the wild eyes and the flying around and of course, I mean, there's times in the show which demand this. The times of extreme strife and terror and peril. Peril, there's a word that isn't used often enough outside of a synopsis of a thriller. I was in great peril. Great Scott, blimey O'Reilly, holy Moses, jumping Jesus. I was in great peril. Peril. Bring back peril. Well, no, don't bring back peril. There's enough peril in the world, but it's a shame that we don't use the word peril enough, because I think that the word peril almost undermines. There's a way to bring joy to a terrifying situation. Say, you I don't know, you're in a terrible plane crash and you're on a mountain and you're about to have to eat everyone else on the plane. Wouldn't it make it a bit lighter if someone to go, well, we are in great peril, my friends? Anyway, sorry, gotta stay focused. Don't want the ADHD madness to get too frenetic, especially because, as I say, it's 8 o'clock in the morning. Got in a very, very fortunately, I was able to somewhat get onto the time difference here. It's a 4-hour time difference here. So by the time I got to bed, it was like midnight, which is 4 a.m. obviously back home. So a very long day. I did actually manage to sleep from, if you can believe it, from midnight through till 7 a.m. this morning. Went and had breakfast, went for a quick walk outside. Now I'm here recording this. But I do sometimes, a lot of comedians rightly have the rule that during the day of the show, they don't do any media. I know Sugar Sammy has that rule. I know that because he and I share the same publicist, the amazing Lisa Lee, who is one of the... I've known Lisa for over 20 years, and she used to be the head of publicity for Just for Laughs. Now looks after every huge, comedy and indeed any tour around in Canada and beyond. Because on the day of the show, you're supposed to conserve your energy. I was interested actually listening to Sam Morrell and Mark Norman talk about what they do on days of shows. And it's interesting how everyone has their different process. And it's that thing where you want to do something, but you don't want to wear yourself out. And again, so my point is that if I get too frenetic on this, I might burn out all minutes, especially given that we have a 2-hour drive this afternoon to drive to Oliver, BC, which is fascinatingly the wine capital of Canada. Is officially the wine capital of Canada. It's so official that the Queen of England, Queen Elizabeth II, she actually labelled it, branded it, as the wine capital of Canada. So it's official. You can't argue with the Queen. You can argue with the King and you can argue with Prince Andrew, but you can't argue with Queen Elizabeth. This was back when the royals, it meant something. So in 2022, she came here as part of her Golden Jubilee tour, her farewell tour. It wasn't her farewell tour. Did she ever come to Canada again? I'm not sure. You continued paying for the security, but I'm not sure if she came. But by royal assent, she stated, branded, demanded, whatever you want to call it, that Oliver is the wine capital of Canada. I mean, honestly, it's incredible. It's like 40. Oliver has a population of 5,000 people. It's like smaller than Rosse, and it has like the vineyards in Oliver are literally so close together. I got drunk just opening Google Maps. Amazing. There's a desert in Oliver. This Oliver is essentially rattlesnakes and wine, which I know does sound like a Guns N' Roses tribute act. Oh, do you see Guns N' Roses are coming back to Canada next year as part of their world tour? Disappointingly on the West Coast. No offense, West Coast listeners, of which there might be a few more now, thanks to these shows this week. Last year, of course, 2 years ago, they famously came to Moncton. Me and my son Hunter went. It was absolutely phenomenal. I'm absolutely devastated they're not coming back. It was wonderful. Oliver, I'm so excited about tonight. This is one of the things I love about this job, going to a place I've never been before. So yes, I've got a 2-hour drive this afternoon to the show. When I hit the stage at 7:30, at about 8:30, after the amazing Rob Balston of Trainwreck Comedy, who is the mastermind behind this run of shows that we're doing, and will also be the special guest on the shows. Host, MC, special guest. It will be 9, 8, 7, 8, 9, 8, 10, 11, it'll be 12:30 for me. So it's that weird thing so it'll be 12:30 when I hit the stage. So right now I'm burning quite a lot of energy for 8:10 a.m. since in 12 hours. But of course, I'm timing it. I map it out. I time it. After this, I might sit and watch like a stand-up special. Then I'll go to the gym. Might get some more fresh air. Might have a bite to eat. Not too much. Not too little. It's a process. It's such a weird thing. And again, I wish that maybe for some comedians it would also not involve much prep, but I'm obviously meticulously researching everything about Oliver so I can hit the. For example, here's some comedy material. I'm just maybe not interested, but for example, I'm trying to find local references for tonight so I can. I've obviously got. I know which kind of 70 minutes I'm doing. Basically, it's I've never performed it before, so essentially my best 70 minutes of Canadian material. But obviously, as you know, I love to personalize things, and 10 minutes in already, haven't got to a single thing. Okay. For example, I understand they have all of these. They have a thing called the Half-Corked Marathon, where wine, laughter, and costumes are part of the race. Half-Corked Marathon. That's right. It's a marathon that people are running drunk. But so basically, I'm trying to come up with a joke that's basically like, I love this place so much because even all of your sporting events involve alcohol, which is true. There's one called Crush the Climb, which is a demanding cycling race, which I believe also involves a cask and keg festival, which is a relay-style beer race during the craft beer festival. So that combined with the fact that this is, I believe, Canada's only desert. So partying in the desert is Oliver Canada's Vegas. I have been. Oliver is in Okay, I've got to get this pronounced this right, because if I pronounce Osoyoos wrong, it would be a bit like walking out on stage, which I have seen a comedian do in St. John and saying, "Great to be here in St. John's." It's the same thing. I found this great Facebook group called Osoyoos in Touch, which is kind of like St. John's Loyalist City News Chasers or whatever your local one is. There's a great one in Pictou called Rants and Raves, which I always refer to. Anyway, so I'm amidst my process today, it will also be coming up with all this new material just for tonight. I want it to go great. This theatre, I've been wanting to play it for a long time. It's called the Venables Theatre. Absolutely beautiful. So that's my yesterday and my today. I'll quickly whiz through last week, and then what was I talking about? The Beast in Me. Anyway, point being, quite a good show. In that, unlike a lot of these Netflix shows that kind of last for 8 hours, it does actually have a beginning, middle, and an end. It does have a conclusion. Somewhat unpredictable, actually, and clever. Matthew Rhys is magnificent in it. Matthew Rhys obviously traditionally plays the nicest guys in the world. Brilliant as well. I'm not going to spoil anything, but as you know, a different type of character. Yes, Claire Danes brings Carrie Matheson to the part. Anyway, it's very interesting. Enjoy. Last Thursday, I went to Fredericton for the day. Had a meeting with a filmmaker with MB Tourism. We had, before I went to Fredericton in the morning, I had a breakfast coffee with my friend Zlako, who is one of the leading heart surgeons at the cardiac surgeons at the St. John Regional Hospital, who has the most amazing collection of vintage books possibly known to man. I mean, it's off the charts incredible. And he has discovered something about New Brunswick, specifically Minto, New Brunswick, that will that essentially is how Minto, New Brunswick was involved in the creation of one of the most used cardiac surgery. I don't know. I'm going to get the lingo wrong here. But essentially, one of the most used techniques in cardiac surgery globally began in Minto. We are both doing some research into this to... it's going to be a magazine feature. Anyway, if you're interested in this or you know what I'm talking about, please do get in touch. Hot-footed it back from Fredericton. My son had hockey in the evening, and then the season finale of the increasingly terrible The Morning Show, which is the Jennifer Aniston and Reese Witherspoon vehicle that had Steve Carell in the first season, and the first season was very much a Me Too show, and since then it has tried to be a bit of basically every single other show known to man, and it just dips in and out of plots, and people appear, and suddenly the people completely disappear, and then characters that completely out of character. It is literally like the episodes were all written by different people who'd never met or spoken or swapped notes or had never seen the other show. There's like a Joe Rogan style, like bro podcaster who I think they actually have named bro in the show. I mean, he starts a love interest relationship with Jennifer Aniston, and then that just disappears. People just do ridiculous things. 1 minute the show is critiquing, sex in the workplace, and then it realizes, we everyone likes sex. Let's just have loads of every character having sex with everyone. It's considering the caliber of people. Jeremy Irons is in it. Obviously, Jennifer Aniston, Reese Witherspoon, both amazing actresses. Marianne Cotillard, very great, and a string of other amazing actresses. And the season finale, I can't even remember what happened. That was last Thursday. Friday, I had to get up at 6 a.m. to drive to PEI for the final piece of filming for the amazing and truly touching work that we've been doing with the St. John Regional Hospital Foundation, celebrating incredible stories of patients and their resilience and the amazing world-class healthcare that we're lucky enough to have. And it's just, it's been truly amazing working with Unbound Media and working with the foundation, telling these stories, which, it's interesting because I do obviously do a lot of interviews with inspiring and interesting people, either for the magazine or for TV shows or podcasts or whatever else. And yeah, every single one of these interviews with leading surgeons and with patients whose lives have been changed, transformed, and literally saved, have left me kind of feeling very, very teary. Anyway, so those films are all coming out. So we had a great time of filming that. Hot footed it back. Oh, as you got back in time, so Pam and I sat down in the evening, a bottle of wine, and watched One Shot with Ed Sheeran. Has anyone seen that? It's One Shot. It's the Philip Baranti, who directed and conceived Adolescence, the famous drama that was on Netflix with Stephen Graham. Phenomenal, groundbreaking, brilliant, and I loved it. If you can love something that's so disturbing. It was, of course, all famously filmed quite improbably, but factually in one shot. They decided to do the same thing with an Ed Sheeran concert in New York, which is brilliant. The only thing that kind of hinders it slightly is that they obviously had to do they did it 3 times and then obviously pick the best one. And seemingly the people in, there's a moment when Ed Sheeran surprises a couple and the guy is proposing, and she does not seem surprised at all to see Ed Sheeran, which seems so weird. You think maybe it's just shock. And then you realize that, oh no, they've already done this once or at least twice. And so she, not being a professional actor and having already been surprised twice or surprised once and then acted it, it's a bit like, when you're being asked to smile for the 3rd time for a picture, it starts to dissipate. So anyway, but overall, absolutely phenomenal. Ed Sheeran obviously seems like a great guy. Very interesting just seeing him hit the streets of New York doing a thing. And of course, always makes my mind run and thinks, could one do a thing like this with New Brunswick Comedy, which does lead me neatly to, I'll get back to the week in a sec. The Comic Sutra Comedy Club, Fredericton's first comedy club, announced Fredericton's first comedy festival. Of course, the capital of New Brunswick should have a comedy festival. It has been a long time coming. Amazing Kelly Lamrock and amazing Amanda have announced it. The Frediculous Comedy Festival, which is actually easier to pronounce than it looks like it's going to be. Frediculous. Sometimes you see a word, especially when you're recording a podcast live and you see a word and you think, oh shit, how am I? Anyway, the Frediculous Comedy Festival, very easy to, there's a lot of things, brands, companies that are very hard to pronounce. Osusus being one. It's funny when people name things in a way that make it very hard to pronounce. Like the word Mullinger, I suppose. It will take place from February the 12th to the 21st on Fredericton's north side. 6 venues, 20 shows, and 50 New Brunswick comics. That's right, 50. Remember when I first did a show in New Brunswick in 2008, 2009, whatever, there was about 4 comics in the province. Now, not only is there was 50 about 8 years ago when we did the Lloyd Raven fundraiser at St. John High. There's probably more than 50. There's probably more than 100 comics. There's 50 performing here. Some festivals, as it says, this is Kelly Lamrock's word, some festivals are based here, but don't book many actual New Brunswickers. We believe that New Brunswick has the best comedy scene in Canada, and we're coming to prove it. Of course, anyway, so point being, I'm doing 3 shows there, and I'm just reading his press release. It's very funny. Who could possibly launch a festival with a who's who of New Brunswick comedy? It would take a very special comic, and we searched high and low. We even had to spend a special ops team out to where the Zellers used to be to secure this special guest. They didn't. I wrote to them begging, but it's very nice of them to, obviously, but I know that they didn't, some Zellers, but they didn't have to beg me. I literally begged them for the honour of doing this. Tomorrow, our third big announcement. Anyway, so the point being, I will be doing 3 shows, and crucially, they are unplanned, unscripted, off-the-cuff shows. I'm doing 3 of those at the BMO Theatre in January before heading off to do 8 shows for Horizon, and then straight from there, got a couple of corporates, then for Ridiculous Comedy Festival. For those of you that don't know, these are the shows where you pick the subjects, I turn up, I have nothing in my arsenal. You write down subjects, you shout out subjects, you ask me anything, I improvise 90 minutes of stand-up on the spot. What could go wrong? Potentially everything. That's what makes it potentially fun for you. You can either enjoy me coming up with something, or you can enjoy watching me absolutely bomb and crash and burn. It was basically my way of going, how do I get people to buy tickets for shows who hate me? Essentially, it's like throw eggs at the jester. It's my way of, how does one hit that hard to reach market of people who absolutely loathe you? I know. So from that, I was supposed to do this 20 minutes ago. The joy. Last week, I was asking, what was the happiest day of your life? Some comments came in after I recorded, so I want to share those, and I want to share one that I had actually been saving to read at the end of the last week's episode, and it's possibly the most profound. I'm going to do it now. So there we go. This is special, right? This is like a bit like when Louis C.K. used to go from one tour show to another, and he would take his closing bit and make it the opening bit for the next tour show. It doesn't matter. I'm giving you gold here, people. I'm giving you gold. I'm giving you what I was going to make the end of the episode, but then forgot. Anyway, it's coming now. Happiest day of your life. Joshua Gary Smith. Pretty serious toss-up, really. But I think the day my daughter was born. Wedding day was a tight second. Interestingly, Joshua, I would have to agree with you there. Although I don't have a daughter that I know of. I would say, births of my sons, 8th of October 2010 and 19th of August 2013. Wedding day, 10th of September 2006. I'd have to agree. And then, career highlights. One was yesterday, just as I was taking off from, I think, Toronto. I got the contract. I signed my second book deal contract last week. I think right before I recorded the podcast. I think I told you that. Yesterday, I received the contract back from the publisher, signed. We are a go, my friends. And excitingly, the book is ready. My first draft is ready. They may tell me it's not ready at all, but I am very excited to have a 80,000 word draft ready. And I realized that it will need more. I want it to be pretty much the exact same length as Brit Happens, which was just over 90,000 words. And I'm praying that we get it out next year. Okay, I'm on page 1 of 17, so you've got a while. So Kerry Underhill. Kerry, it was so lovely to see you and beloved Danny at the Rossayule last week. Oh, incidentally, I know last week I promised to tell you the results of the Rossayule fundraiser. So Rossayule, those of you that know, my wife's been organising. She's done maybe 8 of these now. It is the annual Christmas market and community event at Rossayule Netherwood School in support of the St. John Regional Hospital Foundation, specifically for the Transforming Healthcare program, which basically provides special higher education for nurses, to keep the amazing nurses that we have here in this province and to give them everything they need to keep doing the world-class work that they do. Thanks to all of you, we raised, and I really do mean this, and I mean, again, my wife works around the clock on this, but literally, if people didn't come, attend, support, sponsor, have stalls, etc., volunteer, I mean, all these amazing people that have worked tirelessly, we raised $26,070. I mean, that is a hell of a lot. That will basically provide the higher education for 5 nurses. A true I don't know, statement of community support. And to me, that's everything that Christmas is about. It's everything that joy is about. It's everything that I hope this podcast is about. Philanthropy, community support, people coming together for a common cause and to do a thing that has a tangible result. Now, as I say, extremely, my wife works in it not only all year round, but then specifically, obviously, the month leading up to it, she basically has to drop all other work and work solely on volunteering on this. Anyway, I mentioned that's with my wife. So Kerry, it was lovely to see you. Here's your Kerry's happiest day of her life, and Kerry does live like this. It's interesting. I have a dear friend called Eddie, who lives in Toronto, and so I wasn't sure if I should use his real name, but I'm sure he won't mind. He is a Jehovah's Witness, and I don't know how much you know about Jehovah's Witnesses, but they don't celebrate birthdays or Christmases specifically because they like to celebrate every single day as a joy-filled day. And that might sound unrealistic until you meet Eddie, and he literally lives every day like it's Christmas Day and a birthday. Like every time I see him, it's like it's my birthday. Like, I mean, happiest guy alive. And so my point with this was that Kerry Underhill says this. She says, every day that I wake up healthy is the best day. I have to really think about this. Well, I know what you mean. It's not always easy to think that way, but you are right, Kerry. And Kerry, I'm sure there's so many amazing other things you could have said. The day you met Scott, for instance, the most beautiful couple in the world. But you're right, every day we wake up healthy is the best day. And it's one of those things that I'm desperately trying to live by. We all get caught up in worrying about different things, and I'm terrible at it. My ADHD brain is constantly flying around. I mean, one of the symptoms of ADHD is that you are thinking of 1,000 different scenarios of every single situation, and very few of them are actually positive. It's basically, if you can imagine it, you think those times in your life when you have like a anxiety riddled hangover, when your brain just is going to the dark places. That's kind of what having ADHD is like all the time, where it's constantly going to the worst case scenarios. There's a million things that can happen right now, and all a million of them are terrible, and you're not thinking of all the positive things. And what is very important to try and remember, and I'm trying to live by this a lot more now, is the whole idea that, and I'm sure you've all heard this one before, but it's like in 25 years, you would pay and do anything to be back here today. So why not enjoy it today? I've said it many times, but to Kerry's point about every day just waking up, being healthy, it's so true. You know, whenever you have like an ailment or something wrong or an illness or a toothache or something you're worrying about, and you go, when this is over, I'll be fine. Just enjoy it. Try to remember this, enjoy it now. Thank you, Kerry, for sharing. Like I say, lovely to see you and Danny. Jessica Jill. My wedding day. I waited 35 years to find him. The universe lent him to me for 13 years. Miss him daily. Thank you for sharing that, Jessica. I'm truly, truly grateful and filled with joy for those 13 joyful years that you had, and to be fair, always will have, because all of those memories live on forever. Thank you, Jessica, and thank you for sharing that. And I know that can't have been easy. And please do continue to all share your happiest days of your lives with me. I've been trying to. This next one I'm going to share with you was from Ben Griffin, and it's one that since reading it last week, I've basically tried to live it quite a few days in a row. Ben Griffin's answer to the question, what was the happiest day of your life? He replied, tomorrow. And that is precisely how we should all be living our lives. Thank you, Ben, for sharing that. I really, really do. There's so much self-help stuff out there, and so much of it is, forgive me, such bullshit. And there's so much stuff that pops up on our Instagram feeds. I don't know about you guys. One thing I'm absolutely sick of is lottery-winning billionaires telling us how to be successful or happier. Like, you listen to some podcasts, and it's not fair to name names, but she's not going to hear. I don't know, Bill and Melinda Gates' daughter saying, "You just gotta work hard. You just gotta not take no for an answer. Don't give up." Really. Yes, I get that. Really, the advice should be come out of the vagina of a billionaire's wife. Like that's the advice. Brilliant. I think it's very important important. And again, I always say this about ignoring. We've got to stop looking and listening to all of the brainwashing on social media. Speaking of social media, here's one for you. Tell me what you think about this. Now, before I start, I want you to ask you this question. Do facts matter? Now, how many of you in the past week, and I'm guessing all of you, if you are on Facebook, and again, my condolences for all of us who are addicted to this terrible platform, how many of you have shared the story of Raymond? Raymond, the gentleman who works at the parking lot at St. Joseph's Hospital. It starts like this. It's a picture of Raymond in the parking lot. It says, "My name is Raymond. I'm 73. I work the parking lot at St. Joseph's Hospital. Minimum wage, orange vest, a whistle I barely use. Most people don't even look at me. I'm just the old man waving cars into spaces, but I see everything." And what follows is a very emotional, uplifting story about kindness, about the ways in which we can look out for each other, we can care for each other, the way we can be kind. The story ends, and it goes on and explains how he prioritizes people who are suffering or going through things, and how he even though people aren't noticing him, he sees them. It ends with this. It says, "I'm 73. I direct traffic in a hospital parking lot, but I've learned this. Healing doesn't just happen in operating rooms. Sometimes it starts in a parking space. When someone says, 'I see your crisis, let me carry this one small piece.' So pay attention. At the grocery checkout, the coffee line, wherever you are, someone's drowning in the little things while fighting the big ones. Hold a door, save a spot, carry the weight no one else sees. It's not glamorous, but it's everything. Let this story reach more hearts. Please okay, so interesting. So I've seen this shared everywhere. Some of the most intelligent people I know have been sharing this. Millions of people in our community have been sharing, obviously, because at first glance it certainly appears to be St. Joseph's Hospital in St. John. It has over 100,000 shares. The only problem with all of this is that it's AI-generated pap. It is completely fake. It was actually written by someone by the name of Mary Nelson. It is on an AI page called Astonishing, and it doesn't even hide that fact. It's on the Astonishing page. Everyone is sharing this thing without checking if it's real. Now, does it matter that it's real? Here's the thing, because someone pointed out in the 10 gazillion comments of people saying this is the most inspiring, uplifting thing they've ever read. Someone pointed out that it's AI generated. It's completely fake. None of it's true. And of course, when you look at the picture, you can see that the picture's fake as well as the text. The genius of course, calling something St. Joseph's Hospital is it kind of means that every single person who lives in a town with a St. Joseph's assumes it's there, because we just don't really look. Well, we see what we want to see. And then, crucially, to my point of my story, we just share it without thinking. Now, when this person in the comments pointed out that it was AI generated, just completely fake, there's nothing real in there, that person then got leapt on by millions of people going, "Well, screw you, it made me feel good. And why does that matter if it's not real? It made me feel like I should go and do something good for someone." And absolutely right. Like, if reading this story made you go and do something amazing and kind, then great. A shame somewhat if it takes the robots to make society, make us do nice things. That if that's not a sign that the robots are literally taking over. And also, I mean, let's face it, talk about fears of the Terminator coming true. The fact that AI can create more emotion than, and of course, I mean, the article doesn't really. I mean, I've got lots of relatives who are 73-year-old gentlemen. Not many of them write the way that this article was written. And don't get me wrong, it's beautifully written. Congratulations to the robots, because they have tapped into our psyches. They know what manipulates us. So my question for you, and please answer us on a postcard. Send me a message. I'd love to know what all of you think. So, and I mean that, and again, I'm thinking of specific people. I mean, everyone, Tim, let me know, Caitlin, Charlotte, Kyla, all the wonderful people that kind of listen to this. That's 4 of them, 4 people listening. Genuinely, everyone listening, please tell me your thoughts. Does it matter? I tell you what I think. I mean, I think obviously if this fake AI generated article, and I was tempted to post something, and I'm not going. I don't want to get into some social media war with people. I also don't want to burst people's bubbles. What I find sad is that I'm looking at literally hundreds of people, some of the people I respect most in the community, and by the community I kind of mean, in the province of New Brunswick, but other people too. I've seen sharing it. There's a million amazing people in your community actually doing amazing things. Why not share their stories? Like, there are genuinely heroic. A robot made up a story to manipulate you, to make you share it on the Trump funding, Zuckerberg, Trump supporting propaganda machine. And yet, meanwhile, in your own community, Evelyn McNulty, to use a St. John example, has been for over 40 years feeding the hungry in St. John every single day, hundreds and hundreds of meals a day. That's a story worth sharing, surely. I mean, this story written by Mary Nelson on the AI Facebook page, Astonishing, says, let this story reach more hearts. I think to reach hearts, you need real heart. It can't be fake. Now, again, granted, if something fake makes people, I just think it's a slippery slope. And all the people defending sharing something fake, and all the people, I mean, most people sharing it don't realize that it is completely fake. I think it's a real shame but if that is what society has come to, that things have got so bad politically, globally, economically, socially, that the best we can do is let the robot come up with something positive. That's tragic. But I don't think that society is that bad. I think we're bad for not celebrating and highlighting the amazing community stories that we do have in our towns and cities, the amazing people that we have doing amazing things. Make an effort to highlight them. Don't highlight something that's not fake, and check facts. I mean, don't facts matter? Because if we go down this route of going, it doesn't matter that it's fake, does that mean that? I mean, that sounds like the most Trumpian defense ever. Okay, so back to talking about the ultimate pivot. On Saturday night, I watched a movie which is number one on Netflix right now, called Champagne Problems. It is also possibly AI-generated pap, which I'm absolutely loved because I knew what it was. It's part of the Netflix stable of wannabe Hallmark movies. Amazing lead actress, so much charisma. One of those people you kind of go, wow, how is she not like up there in the upper echelon of the? Absolutely loved it. I mean, it's a rom-com. Set, obviously girl goes to Paris, but I mean, it's incredibly predictable, but it contains champagne and bookstores and Christmas and love. So inevitably, it's all my favorite things. Absolutely loved it. This was a Saturday, actually. I spent the day, actually woke up Saturday morning, went for a run, try and get the blood moving, and then went back and forth to Charlotte County, went to Black's Harbour in the morning. Hunter had a hockey game. He had a hockey tournament all weekend. What's with these hockey tournaments? Sometimes it's so weird when the teams, I mean, I guess it's the nature of the beast and it's just the way it goes, but when the teams are like completely unevenly matched. You seen this? Like does any of your kids' hockey teams have this, where like one day they'll like beat another team like 15-1, and then the next day they'll lose 15-1. You're like, how does that even? How are these different? How are these teams? I mean, maybe it was having a bad day. I guess maybe it's the same as with stand-up. You don't see it happen. Actually, you do see it happening in the NHL, but I guess it's the same with stand-up, where one day you can have an absolute barnstorming gig and the next day absolutely die on your ass. And if the same person was at those two shows, they would swear that you were two completely different comedians. And how did it pop once and not the other time? Anyway, so in the morning went there. It was lovely to bump into the former mayor of St. Andrews, but still essentially the king of St. Andrews, Brad Henderson, was there coaching his son's team. He also has a son called Hunter. Then came home, spent the afternoon raking billions and billions of leaves, putting up decorations on the house. I'm embracing Christmas this year, one and for all. Joy, joy, joy all the way. Speaking of joy, let's do our next quick podcast read. This podcast is proudly fueled by Ganong, Canadian owned and crafted since 1873. Their new sea salted caramels and peanut butter caramel clusters are unreal, truly. And I'm looking at the bags right here by my desk that I bought specifically to give my brother. he won't get them. I'm seeing him tomorrow. I will have eaten them. So if you want to support a Canadian legend while treating yourself, grab a bag today. Your taste buds will thank you. So, and I should point out, my brother, I mentioned this on the podcast last week, that my brother, when they visited New Brunswick for the very first time earlier this year, it's funny how, time flies. I know it's boring, me banging on it, but I think it's one of the things I need to stop doing in life, is constantly going on about how time flies. Like this time a year ago, I just finished my BC run. So it was so weird, like last night, checking back into the hotel that I was in this time a year ago and going, wow, literally feels like I was just here. And then I was here like the same time the year before that. Anyway, my brother and his wife and daughter had tried Palamines for the first time. A box of Palamines arrived with them yesterday. And I should point out, for Nick's friends listening, Palamines are available at the Vernon Bulk Barn. In fact, they're at bulk barns nationally. Anyway, expect lots of videos of me and my brother eating Palamines too. Come on. Okay, so Saturday Christmas decorations, Saturday night champagne problems, great movie, loved it. Then watched Call Her Alex, which is a Hulu documentary about Alex, I can't remember her name, who is the host of Call Her Daddy, the world's biggest podcast, the world's biggest female podcast. I guess the female Joe Rogan, but no other similarities other than millions of people listen to them. Truly fascinating. Watching this incredible talent rise to fame, to success. I knew nothing really about her other than I'd obviously heard that there was this phenomenal, she deserves to have her surname read out, and it's embarrassing that I don't know. Alex Cooper, her story and how she rose to success by essentially starting a podcast that was women talking frankly about sex, and it's kind of morphed into her interviewing world leaders and intelligently and succinctly and insightfully. It's really incredible. And the show tells her story, talks about traumas from her childhood, which are, again, incredibly enlightening and disturbing, but interesting how when people can channel, when we as humans can channel terrible things that happen to us into not into something good, because I don't want to imply that give justification to people making things bad for us, but essentially when we can use that. Anyway, the show captures her, the documentary captures her trying to move her, take her podcast on the road, turn it into a live stage show. And it's fascinating watching how someone doesn't have stage performance skills learn how to do this, and then the crew. I mean, again, you can't help but be, when you are a one-man band traveling across the country doing shows and doing everything yourself. You can't help but feel a bit jealous when you see someone it's like they're in their first turn. They've got a team of like 30 people there helping with everything, which did make me think, you know what, next year, I couldn't tell you this. I'm planning a big Christmas show at the Imperial Theatre, and I have to say that I think for once I'm going to actually get some help. Might just be my wife, might just be anyone else, but if I'm going to get some help with things like building sets or stage managers, those kind of things. Anyway. Interesting watching. If you're interested in the process of what it takes to build a show out of nothing, especially by someone that is a non-stand-up, it's very, very interesting. Anyway, and then Saturday evening went back to St Andrews for another game, which they won. So that was nice. There was ups and downs. Sunday morning went to see Wicked for Good at the cinema. Thank you, Vantage Build, for that invitation. Wicked. What do you all think of Wicked? I hadn't seen the musical, didn't know much about it. I have some dear friends who are huge fans of Wicked. Kyla, I believe you are. I enjoyed the first movie. Thought it was a little bit long. Didn't fully understand it. The second one, Sunday morning, I did enjoy. It was a bit shorter. I very much enjoyed the Wizard of Oz references. I very much enjoyed seeing how Tin Man came to be Tin Man. Didn't actually see that coming. The shoes, interestingly, the iconic red shoes that Dorothy wears are silver in this, which is basically accurate according to the Frank Baum original books. The red shoes was mainly used in the original movie, because of the Technicolor side of it. So many interesting... because obviously, I don't know if you know, the plot basically arrives up to the Wizard of Oz. Now, very, very smart, creative choice to not show Dorothy's face. There are certain moments that seem a bit odd, like, for example, when Galinda and Elphora. Okay, I should know this. Sorry, it's embarrassing. I know. Sometimes it's just Elphaba Galinda. Now, there's a point towards the well, I don't want to spoil it, but there's a point where they're singing, and it's like Dorothy's in the dungeon the whole time that you're having this sing song. The second movie also doesn't have as many banger songs as the first one. Like the first one had like Defying Gravity, which is an all-time epic song, which I would love to hear it sung by the St. John High Choir again. There's an idea for the Christmas show next year. One thing that I think is a flaw in I love the visuals, I love the technicalness of it, I love the fact that it feels like a movie. I love the allegory of the whole Wizard of Oz putting the wool over people's eyes thing, which was obviously relevant in politics 100 plus years ago when amazing for a book that was written 120 years ago is still that's an insanely timeless thing. Like who predicted that the original movie would still be. Anyway, it's amazing how a universe can expand and transcend generations and inspire different generations for different reasons. Second movie, no songs that I can particularly remember. One thing I think the script fails at is that Elphaba and Galinda, we keep being told how they're such great friends, right? How they're such great friends. But I never saw that chemistry. They kind of hated each other and then they sang a song together. But you never actually saw them be friends. You know that whole thing about in a movie script, show, don't tell? I don't think they ever showed us. And not to say they don't have chemistry. Like Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande do have an amazing chemistry. But I didn't personally see or feel the two of them actually being friends. We never saw it. We keep being told it. We didn't actually see it. Anyway, all that to say, great movie. It's breaking box office records. And to be honest, I'm always quite happy to see a thing be successful because joy, positivity. Spent Friday afternoon raking leaves, and it made me think of my old friend Nick Butterworth, who once, when we were at boarding school, told me some friends of his parents wanted to host me, and I went to the house, and it turned out that they actually wanted me to rake 50,000 billion leaves, which I spent like 10 hours doing. But then I had a nice meal. It was a perfectly nice day. And as Nick said, we had a nice chat on Sunday. And as he said, I think you were just happy to be out of school and not being beaten shitless for once. And it's so true. My benchmarks for happy days when I was a kid was just if I was not in the school and doing anything else, whether it be in detention, in chapel, going to church, doing a chore and errand, anything other than being beaten shitless. And that does make me laugh. And there is an example, I guess, of finding joy in darkness. Watched Gummo, the Harmony Korine movie that I bought on Criterion Blu-ray. Such a fascinating film, and it's so fascinating how it's either absolutely genius or absolute garbage, and I don't know which. And then that night, watched, I guess another thing that possibly comes under that bracket, but for different reasons, is the new Sebastian Maniscalco special, which he did for Hulu. Actually, Mark Norman and Samuel's podcast were talking about the comedy boom recently and how essentially how when the boom happened in the 80s, what it meant was that comedy clubs were full. Like every strip mall had a comedy club, and everyone used to talk about the comedy boom of the 80s and it was never going to come back. And then suddenly now there's this new comedy boom, which is just comedians, dozens and dozens of comedians playing massive theatres, like theatres that used to host symphony orchestras, now hosting comedians, and crucially arenas. And as they pointed out on their podcast, which I do really enjoy, by the way, it's called We Might Be Drunk. I think Judd Apatow's on it this week. Although the episode I listened to recently was with a Canadian comedian called Phil Hanley, who I did a gig with a few years ago. Did a festival a few years ago. It was a festival in Port Credit and Burlington. And the lineup was incredible. The people I got to spend the week with, Phil Hanley, Chad Daniels, became very good friends with Chad Daniels that week. One night he said something to me before. One night, this was back in my 8-9 years ago, back in my drinking on the road days. And I think one night he had to carry me to bed, although I can't fully recall because I had a blackout. But at the end of the trip, we did like 8 shows together in 8 days, something like that. He ripped the roof off every night. I'm still trying to get good at this. But he said something like, he said basically told me to be kinder to myself, and I don't know. It's something I'm still working on, but it definitely made me realize that I don't. It was definitely that was on the path. I mean, I guess where that ultimately ended up was don't self-sabotage yourself, and that's where possibly a year later, whatever it was, when I ended up making a mistake that led to me quitting drinking ever on show nights, which I believe now it's been 7 or 8 years. Anyway, wonderful week. Phil Hanley on the Sam Morrill and Mark Norman podcast, but they're talking about the fact that their peers, they're talking about the fact that their peers, the likes of Nate Bargatze and Shane Gillis, playing arenas, and it's that interesting thing where that wasn't obvious. Like, not that it was obvious that Steve Martin, which was, let's face it, his act, which is as massive as it became, was abstract and odd and brilliantly so. And Dice Clay, again, the level of I mean, it's staggering that started selling out arenas because it was, for want of a better phrase, dog shit. But what's interesting is you could have predicted, again, both amazing comedians, Shane Gillis, Nate Bargatze, Sebastian Maniscalco, all great comedians, but who could have predicted that would end up? I mean, the fact that Shane Gillis is breaking records. I went to the Scotiabank Arena this year, to watch the Maple Leafs play a game in the playoffs. Is that what it's called? Yeah, and on the Scotiabank Arena tour, they said that the biggest attendance at the venue was Shane Gillis. And that doesn't mean that he's bigger than Ariana Grande. Obviously, she did 20 nights, whatever, or Madonna, pardon me, or Paul McCartney. But what it means is, obviously, his stage is tiny and he fit more seats in. But still, it's incredible that, I mean, and again, I don't dislike Shane Gillis' act. It's just interesting because you wouldn't watch it and go, wow, this is going to be filling arenas. And I guess part of it, kind of like the Dane Cook phenomenon, not to compare the two, is that what Dane Cook created was a scenario where everyone wanted to hang out with Dane. And it was like high school people that wanted to be high school jocks hanging out with Dane. And what Shane's created, in my opinion, is people that are like him, and to take that as you will, who are like, that's our guy on that stage. And what Nate's created, sorry, you might be able to hear, there's a helicopter going on over, and there is a Hoover going off in the corridor. But maybe you can't hear it because these blue snowball microphones are very good. Anyway, all of this is to say, Sebastian Maniscalco's special. Interesting, Sebastian. So, his special. First of all, I will say this. It's called, what's it bloody called? Sebastian Maniscalco. Where's it written down? Well, I mean, you can see it. It's the brand new. It ain't right. It's the tour he did, which I believe while he was doing it was the I think it was the highest grossing touring performer in the world. I mean, insane, because of course, again, it was other than Taylor Swift, maybe just comedy. Well, basically, the point is how these shows, when these comedians pay these arenas, they haven't got the overheads that a Taylor Swift, obviously she's in a stadium, but they haven't got the overheads that like a Madonna has, because it's just them standing on a stage. Now, Maniscalco. So I will start by saying this. His new special. So the Hulu were obviously coughing up a lot of money for specials. They were getting a lot of people. They got Bill Burr's latest one. He left Netflix for that. They left Gaffigan did one for them, I believe. Yes, he did. And Gaffigan just released another one, by the way. Less than a year later, free on YouTube. What a good guy. Who knows if it's because I don't know. Maybe he wasn't contractually allowed to release another one so quickly after the other one, but it's basically about his love of Bob, and I haven't watched it. My point is, Maniscalco's special, it was one of the biggest tours of last year. My wife and I sat and watched it, and I can't normally get her to watch a full stand-up special, especially not if it's one of mine. And I laughed pretty much all the way through. I really, really enjoyed it. I enjoyed watching her laugh all the way through. We were in just the right frame of mind from it. My dear friend Stephanie Armstrong's actually, her sister is very, very good friends with the Maniscalco family. By all accounts, great people. So I loved it. It's shot in a ginormous arena, which again feels like a bit of a brag, although like a bit of an ego boost. It's like, yeah, we know you're playing arenas every night. You don't have to film the special in one. But his last special, which was him in a tuxedo, by most accounts wasn't great. And he said he was, I think, suffering with sciatica at the time, which I don't even know what that is, or indeed how it affects the stage performance. But anyway, he wasn't overly happy with the last one. So it feels like a bit of a flex, but I laughed, so what matters? However, the subjects that he covers, for example, as he kind of animatedly, moves, his whole thing is, acting out. And interestingly, this is a complaint. I saw a clip of him that popped up on Instagram of him on Jimmy Fallon doing and of course we know the Jimmy Fallon, Jimmy Fallon. We know these interviews, like the bits are pre-prepared, right? We know the chat is pre-planned. What I don't see much of now, you used to back in the day, is a comedian coming on to promote their new special and using a piece of material from that special in the anecdote. So Sebastian basically comes down, he's like, let me tell you about Thanksgiving. And then kind of goes into this thing about, like, basically, and it's a bit from the show, and it's quite funny, but it's like, I don't want you bringing food from your house, and then, a big kind of extravagant gesture to my house. It's dripping everywhere. Where should I put it? And then they ask, where should you put it? Put it near the bin, right? And it's all that stuff. Exact, basically word for word, the bit from the special. I kind of feel like, if you're a professional comedian with a couple of 100 million in the bank, I personally think you should be coming up with something fresh for the chat show to promote the thing that joke is in. Anyway, again, caveat to all this, I did love it. But it's weird. He's talking about doing the same thing actually that Kevin Hart's doing in his new special, which I just started to watch last night, which is pretending to be old. They're obviously like, what can I talk about that will make me make the common man on the street, the working person, what will make them feel connected to me? So they pretend that they're getting old, but as they're doing this, they're kind of jumping around the stage. All we ever see is footage of Kevin Hart in the gym at 5 a.m, bench pressing, lifting weights, doing chin-ups. Sebastian Maniscalco's like prancing around the stage like a ballet dancer, and then they're complaining about being old. The other thing that he does try and do, despite being a multi-gazillionaire, is complaining about the cost of Universal, which, again, I mean, interesting that he's doing that on a special for Hulu owned by Disney. Like, would that routine have been about Disney if it had been on Universal? Again, who knows? He also does a lot of sucking up to Bezos in it, which is also very odd. But it's weird. Basically, he's complaining about the cost of things at Disney World, like complaining about $80 parking, which again is ridiculous. However, bit rich from someone who is a bit rich. A bit rich from someone who's charging $200 for a ticket to sit at the back of a 20,000 seats arena, and I bet some of those arena parking lots are quite expensive too. And then, interestingly, though, but let's say I was laughing, so I can't be critical of it. I'm analysing as one does. The final joke, however, is basically him talking about being at Universal, how expensive it is, and then he sees a guy with no teeth. And the final payoff joke, and I don't mind spoiling it, the final payoff joke is, what are you doing in Universal with no teeth? It's $80 for the parking. It's $2,000 for the day. It's like, get the teeth fixed, then go to Universal. That's essentially the final line. That's his big payoff. Thank you very much. Good night. Standing ovation. No encore off the stage. Now, obviously, I realized that probably on tour, this show was probably 70, 80, 90 minutes. This is a 55, 60-minute stand-up show. Very few, like Nate Bargatze, like Anthony Jeselnik, if they spoke at the speed that I talk, these sets would be about 20 minutes, which does make me think that I should maybe start talking a little bit slower on stage, and less waffle, more killer, more less shit gags. That's a piece of advice. That's the advice that I need that I don't have from without management or advisors or anything like that. It's like less shit gags. They're a good point. Yeah, less shit. But like tighter is the point. That's what she said. So it's just interesting. So it's like, okay, so the millionaire's the best he can come up with for his, $15 million deal with Hulu for a stand-up tour that went all over the world, that broke all records. And the final joke is, person is too poor to have teeth, but yet went to Universal. I mean, it's not unproblematic, is it? Anyway, speaking of problematic, Gervais's special is, of course, coming out on the 30th of December, 31st. That'll be interesting to watch. I will reserve comment for that. But crucially, one of the very first Canadians to ever get a global streaming special is Jerry D. That is on Netflix now. You should watch it. It's quite staggering that Canada has not managed. Oh, no, not that Canada hasn't managed. It's staggering that due to this kind of weird lack of identity that Canada seems to have, tragically, why has it taken this long? There are comedians in all different languages getting stand-up specials for all different markets all over the world. Why aren't Canadians demanding more of these? Your country is full of amazing comedians. Thank you, Jody, for opening the door. Now on Netflix, please. Where's Derek Sagan? I guess Steph Tolev did get one. I'm actually reading a very interesting book right now by Alan Davies, a British comedian. He played Jonathan Creek. Interesting. I never knew he was very good friends with Whoopi Goldberg, who tried to get him shows in New York City, and that was all about to happen. Then 9/11 happened. Another try. So, no, I mean, he doesn't address that in a flippant way. It's not like he's going, "Oh, bloody 9/11, stop my America career." A bit like me complaining how Trump stopped my my main career kicking off. Anyway, he has a new book called White Male Stand Up. It's very interesting. He wrote a book. He's written an autobiography, I believe, and then he wrote another book, which was after his father died, in which he revealed that his father abused him as a child. I know it was absolutely tragic and not in any way comedy gold. And the genius of what and this is kind of about how his destructive behavior on the comedy circuit while dealing with that. Anyway, it's very interesting. It's a really touching, powerful book. Found it incredibly inspiring. But there's a moment when he meets Ronnie Corbett, one of his comedy heroes, I think in Edinburgh. And he asked Ronnie Corbett for a piece of advice, and he says, "When you're not working, work on your act." And I think that is absolutely spot on for if you're not gigging, work on your act. If you're not working, it applies to musicians, comedians. It also applies to anyone in any field. When you're not, for example, if you're not with people, work on you. When it's a good anyway. Massive shout out to the emergency responder who phoned the BMO Theatre to buy tickets for my January off the cuff shows, improv shows, and then received, I should say this, a call came through, which they had to go, obviously, to attend to the emergency, but were like, "Please hold the tickets for me. I don't want to miss out." Last time I tried to get them, they sold out. So God bless you, EMT. And I love what you do. And again, you are a real, whoever you are, if you're listening to this, you are a genuine bona fide hero, not an AI generated hero. Get in touch with me. I have a box full of gifts I would like to give you. Okay, I didn't get to everything, but I'm going to go because I don't want to keep you for too long. Also, I should probably take my voice for the 5 shows I've got over the next 4 nights starting tonight. I'll quickly say this. Down Cemetery Road on Apple is a very good female-led show with Emma Thompson. Can't remember if I mentioned it last week. Yesterday I watched Ari Aster's Eddington on the plane. Very disappointing. It starts very well about COVID lockdowns and BLM and society, and it's kind of, I think, using various allegories. Weirdly doesn't mention Trump at all, despite being clearly about Trump, but maybe that was the point. The best thing I've watched in the past few weeks. Okay, have I mentioned everything? Call Her Daddy. Yep. All's Fair with Kim Kardashian. Worth a watch. Not as terrible as everyone says it is. One shot I mentioned. Where did an hour go? You are really, really good company, you guys. I can say that for sure, because an hour has just gone. I'm not even halfway through my list. And I'll quickly say, Charlotte Llewellyn wrote to me about the NBCC letters, and she sent me a letter that she read to her future self the day before her half marathon. And I've watched these. It's very, very inspiring, Charlotte. Beautiful word. She said, "Even when I flew like Superman, not getting far, I took this moment with me and truly believed, so I did. Thought you'd love more context and feel free to share the link if you feel it could be useful." If anyone would like to see Charlotte Llewellyn's link of the letter that she wrote to her future self the day before her first half marathon, please let me know. Charlotte Llewellyn is a great friend, a great listener to the podcast, and I will also share in the link below the link to the We Buy Records podcast that I did. So it's hosted by my dear friend, one of my best friends in the world, Paul Field, who owns a record shop in Belgrade in Serbia, and his co-host Tim runs a record shop with his partner in East Sussex. And basically two of the smartest people when it comes to record collecting. And it's people about everything. Anyway, Dan Cemetery Road, well worth a watch. It's one of those weird shows, though, that why are the husbands always such bad actors in these shows? Not the husband of Emma Thompson, but the husband of Ruth Wilson. The husbands in those Harlan Coben shows are always so bad, but the script is funnier than most out-and-out comedies. It's kind of like Happy Valley. I think the creators are who did Slow Horses. And it's interesting seeing Apple doing these UK shows. Like when we were kids, Americans never made shows in England, but why they're not Canadians? Where's the Canadian shows? Why? I mean, other than Trailer Park Boys, where is the Canadian identity? Anyway, I apologize for going off on so many tangents today, as always. And I should point out, I was thinking about this recently, like when I'm talking to people, after my mind, ADHDers have a terrible tendency to interrupt people because our brains are going in a million directions. And people think sometimes if my eyes are glazing over, I'm looking over someone's shoulder, or I get distracted by something that I'm not interested. It's not that I'm disinterested in what you're saying. If anything, the problem is I'm too interested. This is the thing. My brain is going in 10,000 different directions because everything you're saying is so fascinating to me that it's thinking of every single different possible scenario. It was announced that Jake Paul is, of course, going to fight Anthony Joshua. Hard to believe that such a thing is happening. A YouTuber fighting one of the greatest boxers of all time. Is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? Let me know. It's weird, of course. Everyone's coming out saying we're making history. I get sick of that in boxing. Every single fight is making history. I've complained about that before because at the end of the day, aren't we all making history every single second of every single day? And to that point, tomorrow, as Ben Griffin said, tomorrow could and will be the best day of your life. I'm going to lead you a couple of inspirational messages. If you are an ocean, be an ocean. Don't be a pond just because people can't swim. I think that's worth remembering as you see something politically and what's happening as people share AI-generated untruths. And finally, can you guess who said this? Stay away from negative people. They have a problem for every solution. It's Albert Einstein. Knows a lot of things, apparently, pretty smart lad. And crucially, I believe I'm right in saying that Albert Einstein was autistic, which, again, another reason to love the great man. Unless you're about to write in and tell me that he, in some way, was problematic, in which case, anyway, I don't know. Did Albert Einstein masturbate in front of female comedians without asking? I don't know. Will I still watch his comedy if I knew that? I don't know. Okay, not to undermine anything that anyone who has gigged with Louis C.K. has suffered. So just remember that this episode is sponsored by my friends and your friends at Ganong, Canadian owned and crafted since 1873. Buying Canadian has never tasted so good. This is the season for cozy nights, family gatherings, and eating a bit too much chocolate. Treat yourselves. It will bring you joy. Ganong has just launched their sea salted caramels and peanut butter caramel clusters, and they are perfect for gifting, hosting, stocking stuffers, or sneaking behind the tree when no one's looking. Crafted in Canada since 1873, make Ganong part of your holiday season. Watch out for the Palamine videos hitting the waves very soon. Did anyone watch that Catherine Bigelow? Is it Catherine Bigelow? Yes, that's her name. With the movie with Idris Elba and Rebecca Ferguson called The House of Dynamite about the nuclear war. Critics loved it. Viewers seemingly hated it, just the fact it didn't have any kind of ending. I don't know. I mean, it kind of feels less. I don't know. A lot of people close to me told me it felt less like a film, more like an endurance test designed by the CIA to see how long we'll stare at crap before our brain melts. It's odd. It doesn't really have an ending. That said, is that the point? Essentially, it's saying nuclear weapons are bad, which is very, very good to know. It was the number one movie in the world that week, which, let's face it, on Netflix usually means 100 million people. The movie that 100 million people were clicking on and fell asleep watching. So you think it's going to be a masterpiece. It starts strong, but it's weak, and then there's no There's no resolution. They never even tell you who fired the missile. It could have been anyone. Russia, China, New Brunswick. No one knows. It could be a toddler with a drone. Who knows? So anyway, I will be back next week. We will talk about all of these things. Please do send me messages if there's anything you'd like covered. Thank you all for listening. I'm going to quickly whiz through the list to see if there's anything important I lost. I missed. I had a very weird dream a couple of mornings ago. I woke up. I was back in the GQ office. And it's just weird little details. You know, when your brain just changes little details, like Charlotte Zamani, who was my amazing and beloved managing editor, for some reason is one of the designers, and she's telling me something. Basically, I'm thrust suddenly back into my old stresses of 12 years ago, being in an office full of like paranoia, anxiety, deadlines, point scoring. Again, there are lots of great times and then lots of great people there, but generally, and I remember. But it was too much. Like I served my time. I did 14 years there. I was not cut out for that kind of. Although I guess the great thing with a job like that, which is so frenetic, is that it doesn't give the ADHD brain time to run off in a million different directions, or it does. But anyway, it was quite a good job for an ADHD. Anyway, I guess what it was, my brain's way of reminding me that I used to have one job, which was get the pictures, occasionally write words for the mag. But basically, it was kind of maybe reminding me that suddenly now I do everything, like every single detail in the magazine, plus, choose to take on, fundraising events and fundraising for different things and doing all these gigs. Although I was doing all that in the UK as well. But anyway, point being, and maybe it was God's way of reminding me that I'm out of that. And even though there's that mantra about like in 20 years' time, you'd pay anything to be back here now, I would not want to be back where I was 12 years ago, 13 years ago, 14 years ago, in that office full of stress, even though there were all these kind of amazing, on paper fun things, meeting amazing people, whether it be presidents, prime ministers, Seinfeld, whatever. I wouldn't change anything to be where I am now, sitting in a hotel room at 9 something in the morning, looking out at the Kelowna hills, and what's the other view? The Holiday Inn, Express and Suites next door. That's quite a flex. That I'm in the Marriott and I'm looking at the Holiday Inn. Normally it's the other way around. That's what happens when you work with Rob Belson of Trainwreck Comedy in the Okanagan Valley. Bosh, sweet as a nut. I better go. Gym, nap, prep jokes for tonight. Panic. Think I'm going to bomb, think I'm going to have a terrible gig, go and have a great gig, enjoy it, and then wonder why I didn't spend the day enjoying it, looking forward to it, but then think, well, I need to not enjoy it, otherwise it wouldn't have gone great. I didn't get time to talk about the Scorsese documentary, Mr. Scorsese. As many of you know, my favorite film of all time is After Hours, Martin Scorsese's 1985 epic, which he made after a series of flops. I was going to talk about Scorsese in detail next week. That is it. That was Manager's Weekly Ramble. I genuinely love talking to you all. Thank you for listening. Thank you, Ganong. Please do all keep in touch. Send me messages, jamesminder@gmail.com. Pick up a bag of Ganong sea salted caramels and peanut butter caramel clusters. You won't regret it. Love you. See you soon. Wish me luck tonight. Bosh.
Manager's Weekly Ramble.